Hi. I don't know why I said like that. It's so warm all of a sudden. Hi everybody, welcome back or welcome to this video. This is episode 1 of the WorkInPodcast. I am your lovely host Jada, and for the people who have been around for a long time, I was also known as Jara right here on this channel. So I thought we'd kind of spend this first episode kind of getting to know me again, like figuring out who I am, what I am, all that jazz. So I got a bunch of questions here on my phone that we're just going to kind of talk through and see how things go, I guess. So the first question is, where did you grow up and did that affect who you became? So I grew up in Australia, in South Australia in particular, and I think that really affected kind of how I see the world and how much I truly appreciate Mother Nature in general. I've traveled all over the world to lots of different countries and places and continents, and I've seen some real bougie ass places to some real povo places, and it has made me realize just truly how much I not only love Australia, but how I kind of grew up in that real sweet middle spot, if not to almost like a pretty good place. I grew up with a Mediterranean family. I grew up with also like Australian cultures. So I'm so white. Holy shit, sorry. No kidding. But yeah, I grew up with that Mediterranean background, but with a Mediterranean/European background, but in an Australian living. And I actually grew up having a lot of Asian friends and like a lot of European friends, I guess, mostly Asian, which is interesting. So like, although I haven't really traveled much of Asia and haven't really done much of that kind of world, it kind of helped me to realize that we're not that different. We're all the same values for families and friends and structure. So I felt like I was pretty happy with where I grew up. Honestly, I don't want to grow up anywhere else, so I'll take it. What is your morning routine? I don't have a routine. That's one of my toughest challenges when it comes to me. I struggle a lot with like a morning routine, a night routine, a beauty routine, a skincare routine, a blah 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 routine. My brain doesn't really work like that. I get up in the morning, I say hi to my partner. If I'm going to work before him, I will snuggle with him for about 10 minutes and then get dressed, give him a kiss, go to work. If he leaves before I do, he'll always give me a kiss and tell me he's off. If it's both of our days off, which is very rare that happens, we will both sleep in. I sleep in a lot more than he does. And then, yeah, he will be scrolling on his phone probably for about an hour or so before I get up. I try not to touch my phone as much in the morning just because I don't really like touching my phone that much. So, yeah, other than that, I try and have some water in the morning. I try not to eat before midday unless I'm at work. Then I will have something for breakfast, probably like a yogurt. Well, right now it's like yogurt overnight oats is my go-to with some chia seeds, sometimes with coconut shreds, sometimes without, sometimes with some chocolate chips, sometimes without, kind of just depending what I want to chuck on there. But other than that, that's probably about it. Like I said, I don't really have a morning routine. So, what's the best compliment you've ever received? That's tricky. I think the best compliment I've ever received, it's not even the best because of like the wording. It was the best because I needed it at the time. And it was, I'm so proud of who you are now and who you're going to be. I really needed that in that particular point in my life. I was really struggling mentally and not knowing who I was and kind of definitely lost for words for a lot of ways you could say it. But more than lost for words, I was just lost in general. And so having my best friend at the time kind of tell me that, like, hey, like, just a reminder, I am proud of who you are because I know who you truly are, but I'm also proud because I know who you're going to become, still resonates with me to this day as one of my, like, favorite, or as one of the best compliments. I think one of my favorite compliments that I've gotten is, like, thank you for including me, because I had a lot of friends or acquaintances throughout my life who's had many different allergies, or can't have certain things, or can't do certain things because of religious reasons, like just anxiety reasons, all of those elements. And so I've really tried to adapt and be there when I can, and it's nice to know that people like that. So because sometimes people are a bit like, oh, that's okay. What is your favorite pastime and why? I think my favorite pastime is reading. I've always loved reading because I love the aspect of being teleported into a different plane and world altogether. But I struggle sometimes to, like, get into a book because there's a lot of authors that I love and love reading all their work, and sometimes I'll get a book and be super excited for it, and then it just doesn't hit, and then I kind of go off books for a little while until I pick something up again. So reading is probably my favorite pastime. I like playing video games here and there, but I like more of the relaxing kind of comfort more games. So, like, I really like Tales of the Shire, so that I've been playing a lot. I play a lot of like Blacksmith, Forge Master, like Tavern Master, Baldur's Gate I really loved, I still quite like. Anything on the Switch I really like. I'm still kind of throughout playing Tears of the Kingdom. I really liked Breath of the Wild and Hyrule and Ocarina of Time and kind of those elements. I really like your more kiddie games, quote unquote. So games where I don't have to think. I'm not a massive fan of shooters or those types of games, because to me, you're either getting angry or there's too much happening, and my brain is overloaded all the time. I don't need a game to make it worse. What did you want to be when you were a kid and why? I don't really know. I know for a lot of the time as a kid, I didn't think I'd make it past 13. And then again, I didn't think I would make it past 18 or 24. And I'm about to be 25 in a month or so. So it kind of shocks me, I guess, that I've made it this far and that I want to continue making it this far. As a kid, I think I probably wanted to be a teacher of some description because it was heavily forced upon me that I should be a teacher. I really don't want to be a teacher. The only other thing that I've ever wanted as a kid was I really want to be a mum. I've always wanted to be a mother. Even when I was really little, I always remember thinking like, oh, I want to be a mum. It's not that hard to, like, have kids. I was a child. I think dumb things. So definitely tricky. But I'm excited for that future endeavor if and when it arises. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? I'm such a deep introvert that it is ridiculous. So I'm a phenomenal introvert. I will literally spend an entire day, and I mean an entire day from like 7 a.m. to like 11 p.m. lying in my bed, unable to move and like be exhausted to the point of like going to the bathroom is difficult if I have socialized too much. I am such a homebody. I need to be comfortable in my own space. I need quiet. I need calm. I need relaxation. I love seeing my friends, do not get me wrong. I love talking to them. I love hanging out with them. But not only am I really bad at reaching out, I just cannot do the whole party scene bullshitness anymore. It needs to be like one of my favorite activities I've done with my best friend recently was we literally just sat at her house in pajamas. We bedazzled a book, watching reruns of Suits, and like she cooked dinner, I helped with clean up, and we just talked about random nonsense of whatever we wanted to talk about. And that has made me that made me feel so rejuvenated and happy. I loved it. If you had to describe yourself as an animal, which would it be and why? I've always said I'm a polar bear. Polar bears are my favorite animal, always have been, always will be. I've always thought I was a polar bear because they look very kind and caring, and people kind of take them for granted. And when they need to be, they are vicious, they are protective, and they will hurt somebody if pushed to it. But at the same time, I also feel like I'm just like a household cat, like a mixed cat, like a calico cat. Definitely got some craziness from the orange cat. Got like the alluding like I want you but I don't from the black cat, and like I just would like food. I feel like I definitely get that from the white cat side. So yeah, either a polar bear or like a little calico cat. If money wasn't a factor, what would you do with your time? See, I'd find that tricky because I like working. I like having that kind of aspect to do. So I think if money wasn't a factor and I could like pick any job, I'd be a project manager for like a book publishing firm. And I would also be a project manager for a company that I want to make, or a business I want to make, which is like a wedding / like events planner, organizer. That would be my dream. I really want to be a project manager, and I'm incredibly slowly working towards that. So yippee! What's your favorite movie and what does it reveal about you? My favorite movies are The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Little Mermaid, The Bucket List, Elemental, which is a newer Disney one, and the Pirates of the Caribbean / the Lord of the Rings / Hobbit franchise. I like anything fantasy orientated. I love a different world, one where I can just fully escape and I'm out. Night Before Christmas has always been my favorite because I really liked the uniqueness of all the characters and how odd and different they all are. I loved how even though they were perceived as like creepy and odd and non-liked, I guess, they still were happy in themselves. And even when they trying to do the right thing, when they made a mistake, they went and fixed it. They owned up to their mistakes and continued. And that's something I really instilled in me as a kid. The Little Mermaid, she's my favorite Disney princess because as a little kid, I kind of wanted to be her. Who didn't want to be a mermaid? Like, in water, swing around, talking to animals. Super cool. And she gets Prince Eric. Oh! The Bucket List I really love. So that has Morgan Freeman in it and Jack Nicholson. It's one of those movies I do not watch very often, but every time I think of my favorite film, that is pretty much one of the first ones that pops into my head. It is such a comfort film. I love watching it. It just makes me happy. And I think it kind of shows a duality of friendship, which I really love and hope that I bring with my best friends. What's your star sign? I am a Libra. Don't really care about star signs, but for the girls, gays, they, thems, and everything in between, I'm a Libra. Shocking, I know. What's the last thing you searched on Spotify? That's a good question. You can actually follow me on Spotify, which is work in progress. How do you also learn that I'm really old. I don't know how things work. I don't even know what the last thing I searched for in Spotify. Recent searches, which I don't know if you can see. I'll just tell you. Selena Gomez, Jessie, The Cutting Crew, Lord, Tom Cardy, Coo Darling by Cloudy June, as well as If Jesus Saw What We Did Last Night, Baby No Money, Paolo Dolpic, which is Fires of War, and a bunch of Eurovision stuff because I love Eurovision. What do people misunderstand about you the most? People misunderstand the fact that I look terrifying. I have such a resting bitch face that it is a problem. I am also I'm horrendous when it comes to texting because I sound very serious and angry and I'm just being forward and direct, and people do not like that. Also the fact that like, because I am autistic, I sometimes do not have emotions, and that really frustrates people. I think that's a them problem. Do I have any siblings? No. Only child. Clearly. How are you different than your old self last year? Ooh, that's a good question. What was last year? 2014? 2024. 2024 was a really bizarre year. I had moved back in with my parents for a little bit and then had moved out again. I was in a real like up and down depressive state. I was trying to figure out what my life had meaning, and like the meaning it did have, like pretty much what am I doing with my life, all of those fun conversations, and I had no idea. I was on and off like suicidal-ish, not like fully, just having those thoughts. Whereas now I know what I want to do. I have an idea, I have an objective, and I'm striving towards it. We hope and pray. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I love this question. I think most people really hate the question of like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I now really love it because to me, I know exactly where I want to see myself in 5 years. So in 5 years, I'll be 30. I want to be engaged and at least married, or if not married, like close to being married, because I wanted to start having kids around that age. And for me personally, I would just like to be married before I have kids, but if something happens, something happens. By then, I would have hoped that I've either gotten a project management job, or at the very least have figured out the field I want to be in, and then kind of continue to have worked towards that. So I want to still be with the love of my life. Yeah, just doing that, heading towards that hot girl shit. I don't know why the street all of a sudden has now decided to become busy, and it's like, bruh, what was the most significant turning point in your life? Oh, where do I begin? Where do I begin? 2022? Was it 2022? All of 2022 was a very long, dragged out turning point. Hitting rock bottom and actually hitting rock bottom instead of just finding it. Losing all my friends and my loved ones who I had called family. Doing all of those different elements, and then realizing that my life was not my own, and realizing that the things that I had loved and cared and was so passionate about had nothing to do with me. It was helping everybody else. And that shit fucking sucked. I hated that I could elevate an aspect of myself and people craved that more, whereas if I was being my true authentic self, people hated that. And I think that was the most stupidest thing possible. I was so angry. I was so upset. I was lost in mental health problems. I was rapidly drowning and people were just pushing me under. See, that was definitely a changing point in my life. Do you have any regrets? Yes, but also no. So far, I have like one regret in my life, but it proved a point which I wouldn't have been able to know otherwise. So yes, I regret the actions that I took, and I'm not going to talk about it. But also no, I do not regret it because it showed me his motives and true colors at the time. I know for a fact that's not who he is anymore, and I know it stopped us from being friends for a while, but I don't regret testing those waters out to see if I was right or not. And I was right, which is really sad. How did I meet my significant other? Well, I'm going to hold off all like the significant other questions for when he's on, because I will get him to come on and we'll kind of talk about it and delve into those aspects, because I think that's the fun of it. I can see that my camera is like starting to freak out because it's not starting to sunset, but like kind of sunsetting, and my camera is like, I don't know how to adjust, you're so white. Sorry. What's one thing you want to change about yourself for next year? I really wish that when people had hobbies and were doing those activities, I wasn't jealous that I'm not a part of it. So the greatest example of this is like the love of my life. He has a lot of hobbies that include other people, like his friends and whatnot. And the problem with that is that I don't participate in the same things. I can't do shooter games, I can't do war games and all those aspects, but I feel really left out because I hear him so happy and then I feel really alone. But I should be able to just be like, you know what, no, you're having fun, enjoy that. I can do other stuff or not feel like I'm not included because I don't have to be included. It's a weird thing that I'm quite not sure how to delve into, but I've been working on it slowly. Well, what made you want to start a podcast? I wanted to properly restart my podcast because I kind of did some trial runs and then I had started one, and then the people I did it with were not my friends. Well, no. The people I did it with stopped in contact with me. We had a bit of a falling out, and both myself and them were in the wrong. I'm not saying it's 100% their fault or 100% my fault. We both fucked up. And I was really excited to continue it, but with everything that had happened, it just was not going to happen. And so I took some time away and decided that I needed to be healthier to continue this project. And now that I'm feeling a lot healthier and a lot more comfortable talking, I want to be able to talk. So that's what I'm doing. Even though I'm sitting like outside of my car and people are staring at me, I'm taking it as exposure therapy. How long did it take you to grow your audience to its current size? I've been doing YouTube for like over 10 years. But it was sad. It was really funny though, because I got all of these subscribers within like less than a week. I got it because I did a react video, or a bunch of react videos to this thing I'd never heard of, and it blew up and their community loved it. And I panicked because I didn't want to be stuck as the react person, which I was stupid because I should have just stuck to that, because then I would have done great. But I was so afraid of, at the time especially, I was so afraid of being pigeonholed as one person or as one thing that I just panicked and didn't want that, and it didn't do me very well. What's one piece of advice you can share? If you were asking other people, do you like this about me, or what would you change about me? The more you ask other people, what can you fix about yourself, the more you either have no trust in yourself, or the more that you have no idea what's going on in your life. I'm not saying that you should be cocky and perfect and you do nothing wrong, but I'm trying to say is that if you keep going around to everybody you know being like, tell me what's wrong with me, tell me what's wrong with me, tell me what's wrong with me, you're giving everybody else the power. And as soon as they feel like they don't have that power anymore, they will up and leave. And you then will feel so chronically alone and think it's your fault when it was 100% their fault for leaving you when you needed them. Girly pop. Can you share your top 3 book recommendations? Jeez Louise, book recommendations. I'm going to do so many videos on books, so it really depends on what books you like. I always go off the notion of, if you like fantasy shows, read fantasy books. And if you, whatever you like in movies and TV shows, you'll probably like in books. Be careful of what is shown on Book Talk or what books get super popular on social media. A lot of the times, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're phenomenal. Other times they can be really shit and just being promoted because of a funny video or something. So just be careful. Goodreads is your best friend if you want to look at reviews. Otherwise, ask your local library personnel, ask your local bookworm that you know. They'll give you great recommendations because they know you better than I ever will. What are the best podcasts to listen to? I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. Funnily enough, I do and I don't. I listen to Distractable. Distractable is my number 1. And then I listen to Basically Unfiltered, which is a great podcast. What else? I listen to Weird Kids on beacon.tv, which is a Critical Role system. I sometimes listen to The Fear End. Not really. I listen to Whine About It. Yeah, I just find creators that I really like, and 9 times out of 10, they probably have a podcast. So I give it a try. If I like it, I'll stick with it. If not, then I won't stick with it. Yeah, I'm more of a Dungeons and Dragons girl. So if you count those as podcasts, then I'm a big Critical Role nerd. So any questions that I want to be asked? I want you guys to ask me any questions you want. The more questions you ask me in the comment section below, I will answer them in another video. I kind of just basically wanted to use this podcast as a way to talk. I'm going to bring up different topics and conversation points, and I want to talk with my friends and like really delve into certain aspects. I think they're going to be anywhere between like a half an hour to an hour, potentially more, just depending on like who I'm with, all of those elements. But I want it to be a really simple concept. I don't want it to be over the top or messy or anything like that. It's just a podcast where I sit in my car and it's obvious that I sit in a car and we just talk. So if you have any topics, suggestions, anything you want me to talk about, I'm happy to talk about them. I kind of want to talk about, like, I have a bunch of different ideas, so I'm going to start slowly working on those. I might write up a bunch of stuff and kind of plan, but so if you have any topics, suggestions, anything you want me to talk about, I'm happy to talk about them. I kind of want to talk about, like, I have a bunch of different ideas, so I'm going to start slowly working on those. I might write up a bunch of stuff and kind of plan, but I'm going to leave this one here. I hope that answered some things and you kind of got to know me a little bit better. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all lots. And I will talk to you in the next Work in Podcast. Bye, children.